Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Dalton from Caffeine GT, and I am in the Project Miata. Project Miata is almost ready for the track. I do want to upgrade the brake pads and then see what else I want to do with it. While the Miata might be ready for the track, I am not, in this car anyway. I'm going to talk a little bit about the top 5 weaknesses of the early Mazda Miatas. Here's the catch. It doesn't really have to do with the car. It actually has to do with the driver. I'll tell you why. Thing 1. The Mazda Miata is extremely confidence inspiring. With its relatively low horsepower, lightweight, it's really tossable, it's really easy to drive, and you really kind of get overconfident, not necessarily in what the Miata can do, but in what you can do as a driver. If you put some super sticky tires on a Mazda Miata, it is going to grip for days. I know because I've done this. And I did this with stock suspension, stock brakes, and I can pull off some fairly high-speed turns, the likes of which I've only really seen matched in my F-Type R. Now, I don't have any, mathematical details, no data to back up that thought, but my gosh, feeling-wise, you can really toss the car, and on sticky tires, I haven't really seen that to the extent as I've seen here. This next one is kind of a twofer. So thing 2/thing 3. The early Mazda Miatas are really kind of unassuming. They're kind of cutesy. They're definitely small. And the power to weight ratio. All right, this next one is kind of a twofer. So thing 2/thing 3. Thing 2 is that the NA and MB Miatas are relatively low horsepower. We're talking 116 thereabouts for the NA and 142 or 150 thereabouts for the NB. Thing 3 is that they're both relatively unassuming looking, especially the NA with its cutesy AF pop-up headlights. But that doesn't mean that the car won't try to kill you if you push it hard enough. If you don't know whether or not you have anti-lock brakes, find a way to figure it out. I'll get into that later on in the video. Or at the very least, if you're gonna check your braking, do it in a place where you can safely go to your left or to your right and get a little bit of knowledge about a thing called threshold braking. It's something that we used to do back before federal regulations said that everybody had to have anti-lock brakes. Now, I found out that my car does not have anti-lock brakes, not by reading anything about it, but by figuring it out in real life. So, yeah, the Mazda Miata is cutesy. It's slightly underpowered if you're expecting a whole bunch of horsepower, but it is still a car, and it's a very capable car, and like all cars, they can in fact be dangerous and kill you with a smile on its face. That actually kind of gets into straight line speed. You would think that a little teeny tiny roadster with a little teeny tiny engine would struggle to get into, let's say, 3-digit speeds. I cannot confirm nor deny whether or not I've experienced that myself, but hypothetically, these cars will get there. If your car is in a good state of tune, a good state of repair, it's not going to be screaming when it gets there. So you might not notice it. And as much as you might think, they'll do so quite eagerly. So yeah, If you're gonna get out there, make sure that you're paying attention to the car and respecting the car. It's small, it's nimble, it's low horsepower, but it's actually pretty potent. Thing four, these cars are old. I don't blame the Mazda, I blame time. They're just simply an older car. And because of that, a lot of regulations weren't in place back then. So if you notice, a lot of Miata drivers put an aftermarket roll bar in. I decided to go a little bit further than that, put roll bar and door bars. The door bars aren't necessarily designed for safety, but anytime you have a piece of metal going across and acting like a beam, it's going to probably help a little bit, and it helps with torsional rigidity. Another side effect of it being old is this one in particular does not have anti-lock brakes. So for that reason, before you go out and really run your Miata hard, try to understand as much about the features that your car has as possible. I found out the not so easy way that my car does not have anti-lock brakes. I searched on the forums and I did not see any way of finding out if the car had anti-lock brakes. I looked up my VIN number, and then I can't remember exactly where I found it, but you can figure out some more knowledge about the braking system on your car. If your car has not been modified or painted, then chances are you might have this handy dandy little door sticker. And you can see if you have the sport suspension. So mine does, sport suspension, Sport S. If I would have known about this earlier, I would have known that no, I do not have anti-lock brakes. I have a 6-speed transmission. I didn't know that until after I rebuilt the shift linkage and saw the little number 6 on the H pattern. And apparently mine is a special edition. Last but not least is price. The Mazda Miata and most of its parts, both OEM and aftermarket, are relatively inexpensive, at least for now. And that's another place where you tend to get overconfident. I myself had a huge, lofty goal for the Miata, and I just started loading up grocery carts because the parts were the cheapest parts I'd ever bought for a car, because I've had Audis and BMWs and Jaguars, and to be fair, the 370Z had cheap parts, but I wasn't going for as in-depth of a build. Now, what happens when the prices are low is you fill your grocery cart with a lot of stuff, and you get to the check stand, and you realize that your total did not come to $5.37. It actually came to a lot more. It's still a shocker to find out how much you spent on brake pads, braided brake lines, door cars, roll bars, racing seats. It really does add up, and it can add up quickly because, once again, the Miata is such a good car that it makes you overconfident in almost every single respect. So there you have it. Those are the Mazda Miata's weaknesses. I'm referring mainly to the NA and NB Miatas. I don't know much about the NCs and NDs. I do hear that they're lovely cars, and that the ND especially has recaptured the spirit and the ethos of the earlier generations. But as you can see, most of the faults with Miata are more about driver and mentality than the car itself. Now, I will say, a couple of bonus things is, if you're a taller driver, which I hesitate to call myself, but apparently I am, they can be hard to fit in, and you might have to do some mods to make sure that your head is below the roll bar, for instance. I do have a video about how I resolved that problem. And I had a cup holder that kept popping up. I literally had to duct tape it shut instead of removing the console. I didn't really feel like doing that. But that's about it. There you have it. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Oh, when he tells her he loves her. Ah, mm, 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 mm. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba.